My dad always seems to say, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. I didn't start to consider what this meant until I became a parent. Hey, I'm Sol. I'm an energy healer, and I help parents and sandwich generation folks show up as the best versions of themselves. I'm going to be reading off my phone. I still haven't quite figured out, like, looking at the camera. So, let's see. So, a comedian named Aziz Ansari, so remember him. He has a special from 2019. And he says, so he says in his special, the quote starts, "You see your folks enough? What, 2 or 3 times a year? What do they got left? Maybe 20 years? That's 60 more times you get to see them. That's it. 60 more times. 60 more hangs." That's the end of that quote. I didn't watch that special until the COVID lockdown. And in 2020, my dad got a heart attack. And that quote was fresh, so fresh in my mind at that time. And made me realize, where was my time going? And now, when my dad says, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, and when I'm busy and I'm not thinking and I quickly go, I'm busy, he goes, you're busy? I've got a heart condition. It's like, you don't have time. I definitely don't have, I don't have time left. So he's made me very aware of my available time. So for example, 30 days, 30 of the days in January, I spent about 42%-ish with my family. And for me, that's not quite where I want to be. Full calculation of where that 42% comes from, full calculation in the description. And that golden percent is different for everyone, different for every family. Because I do acknowledge quality over quantity. But I do know how, I just don't know, how as a family unit can we achieve that when we spend anywhere from 8 to 12 hours away from each other on a daily basis. So how do we do this, right? We simplify everything else in our lives to make room for what matters most. So if work takes up most of our time and energy, if work, school takes up most of our time and energy, but we can't necessarily get rid of it right away, right? We can consider things like moving closer to a job or ease of transportation, so it's easier to show up, whether it's show up for that job or easier to show up for ourselves and our family, right? So instead of sitting in a traffic, it may be less mentally taxing to hop on a train or a daily shuttle. Also living, working, eating, shopping in the same area. That saves a lot of time and mental effort when everything else is in one place. Bonus points if you shop online and then pick everything up all in a single go. Cook and do chores with your family. Do not wait for the Roomba, or if you are relying on the Roomba, empty it out together. Make it a game. Who leaves the Roomba the cleanest? A lot of the work I do is creating a strong family unit, starting with a single person of the household. So if you're not on your phone, it makes it easier for everyone else to not be on a device too. Let's see here. Wanted to reiterate. Oh, we're getting into that. I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. Lastly, energy healing, right? So I'm an energy healer. Energy healing helps us to see things that we never thought possible. So for myself, years ago, my doctor recommended energy healing to me because my medication stopped working and we were running out of non-invasive options. So with the healing sessions, not only was I able to come off of my medications, but also like interesting stuff started to happen with my commute getting shorter. So let me explain. My original office commute was 20 minutes. And then one day they surprised us and then they like relocated us to a new office building. Okay, so this is a big surprise because they've never relocated us or the organization in over 45 years. Like it was one of those things where it's like pigs would fly before they would move us, and they moved us. And then a week into that new building, so at that new building, that's now a 15-minute commute for me. A week into that building, I get promoted and I get relocated to an even closer office. And then that's now a 5-minute commute away. So I mentioned this because, we think energy healing, and so if you do believe in it, we sometimes think of it as just helping us out in our physical bodies, but it helps out, in our general environment as well. And for those who are still skeptical, because I started out as a skeptic, and even to this day, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, wait, like that's still possible. I'm always surprised by it. So even if it's a placebo effect, when you're in pain, when you're struggling, and you just want things to work, why not try something new? Yeah, I think that's all I've got. I didn't have a closer. I'm so sorry. I hope these tips work out for you and hope they bring some new perspective and something to think about. See you next week.